when you go through a grieving process, when people die, you go through different stages of grieving. First, you don't want to um, uh, acknowledge what has happened. So you try to repress, you try to, it's the normal grieving processes. So you just pretend that it didn't happen. Then you can enter a magical thinking phase where you think it's a bit like psychosis. It's like you maybe think that you are in contact with the dead person, or you see signs that somehow you feel is a communication with the deceased, or you have vivid dreams about the dead person, or uh, the question is it a part of a grieving process that is unnatural or that's supernatural? We don't know, but it's according to Jung, a book I read. Then at some point you realize what happened, and that's when you might get angry, or and uh, below that anger, there's always some emotion that is underneath the anger. Anger is not is an emotion that's an expression of something else, like feeling helpless, feeling grief, feeling inferior, feeling well, all kinds of different emotions. So then the grieving process, which can take a long time, of crying and remembering, like Christmas. The dead person used to be there at Christmas times, not there. All at birthdays and everything, depending on how close to you the person was, then you are reminded of the uh, um, the the times or the situations where the person is missing, and you feel the um, sorrow connected to that. There might also be some split, ambivalent emotions depending on if the person had been sick, ill for a long time. I don't know, some kind of any illness that made the person more and more uh, ill, and you might have had to take care of the person, or you saw the person, or if it's an elderly person in a nursing home or whatever it's called, and you've seen the person not doing well, and you might have felt that it was maybe a bit of a burden. Maybe you felt that the person was it was not having the type of life that was um, good enough. We have a word in Danish that I cannot seem to find right now. It was too unworthy or something like that. So there might be split emotions that can be difficult to handle because you feel the grief. You might have even let go of the person before the person died, which I experienced, and I feel very bad about that. But because it was because of me not being enlightened, me not knowing about things that should be taught in public school. Um, and then the grieving process, and uh, which of course takes short or longer time depending on the closeness or the nearness of the relationship, how much how well you knew the person, how much time you spent with the person, and so on. And then afterwards, there's, I don't know if I can translate it into the new orientation phase where uh, you have to integrate the new the laws into your perception of reality. And if it was um, a husband or a wife, then it's there's a lot of adjustments in the everyday life. If it's a brother, like in my case, also, even though I hadn't seen my brother that much for some time, but I had right before he died very much. I spent a lot of time with him, and then making sense of it. Uh, that's the first step in the new orientation phase, because you have to integrate the experience. And if it doesn't make sense, you don't understand what happened, and or uh, you cannot forgive yourself, because if it was suicide, like in my case, then it's very difficult to forgive yourself, because you think that could you have done something more than what you did? Was it not good enough? Why did I do this or that? And why didn't I do this or that? Then it takes a long time, and it takes, or maybe it will never make sense. But you have to move on, and you have to, uh, uh, with that new experience and a new world view from integrating the experience into your mind and your new perception of reality, moving on in life, which can be difficult. Uh, I know some people who never find a new husband or wife, or some people get sick, mentally ill themselves, or have depression, or it takes a long time to get over it. But if your surroundings are willing to let you move on, and if they are good support to who listen and who show that they care also about the dead person, and they want to talk about it, and then it's much easier, and also can contain this is a strange word, the negative emotions without judging, because that's very important, not to judge a person who feels ambivalence because of uh, yeah, the episode that led up to the death of the person. Um, Another thing, it's Jung as well. I bought that book because I wanted to understand my own grieving process, and I understood it better because I read that book, and I understood that because I never really, I cannot. It's not like you go through that process. I think they you can there's Christmas, you feel the grief, but you have found a new job, or something like that, or Christmas is different, and you have to get through that night. So it's happening simultaneously. However, I don't know how to pronounce it the right way. uh, but okay, another thing about Jung, um, archetypes. Um, I've been thinking about how we create archetypes all the time in movies, and we can change existing archetypes and turn them into something else that um, affects people's understanding of different types of people. There's Rosemary's Baby. We all know, or I think a lot of people know that movie. A woman who's apparently mentally ill, or maybe she's not, maybe it's a psychopathic family, I think the last interpretation is more is uh, the truth about that. But every archetype that is created, that's Jesus. But people don't know much about Jesus. So when people talk about a Jesus character, it's someone who's so good and so kind and does so many good things for other people. That's not Jesus. That's not how when I've read the Bible, I don't think that Jesus was uh, that good. He had his opinions and he was a bit of a rebel um, towards the existing um, the church um, and how they were preaching the word of God, and he said a lot of bad things about uh, that kind of people, and he cursed the fig tree, and he could get angry. Um, so I think what people don't know, so they think that Jesus was such a good person, always kind and always good, but that's not true. So sometimes the archetypes are uh, not the real archetypes. Then there's the Viking archetypes um, that are connected with strength, and we don't know much about the stories. So there's not many negative stories about Vikings. They were just strong and powerful and big and muscular, maybe long hair or um, and that archetype is only connected with something good. Um, and in the beginning, well, we often people don't think as far back as the Egyptian times and the goddesses of that time. A lot of people don't know about them, so I don't think they are a part of the catalog in people's heads of uh, passed on archetypes, not only passed on through watching TV, but in the minds of uh, the last generations who have know something about certain archetypes that we don't hear about nowadays or in my childhood, but people have a certain view on specific types of people that you feel it or you hear your parents talk about that type of person, which has to do with archetypes. So some people are judged because of their appearances, because of how they are or how they appear to be, because of some kind of subconscious association to different archetypes. Um, then there's Cleopatra. I don't think people know about Cleopatra uh, unless they. I don't even think we heard about Cleopatra in public school or at high school. Not as I don't think so. They can pick certain topics and just leave out the rest of it. And Second World War is always a hit in Denmark, or it was, because it was close to Denmark. It was the whole of Europe who was that was affected, and it was World War, and it's just it's easy to teach, and that story. I don't know why we. Boom, boom. What other then archetypes are created through movies, series, musicians that make certain types popular or unpopular at specific or different times in history. It changes. Sometimes that type is, or it's been for a long time. I think it's been the same types of men and women, but it's changed a lot recently. I think also because the Americans have made a lot of movies switching the roles of the evil witch and fairy tale princess. Um, so that, and a lot of YouTube videos, even ordinary people, so called, can create archetypes, change archetypes, make fake stories about people, and fuck it all up so that and there's a lot of freaks who post on YouTube. You might even say that I'm a freak if anyone's ever watching this, because you don't know what I'm talking about, maybe. Uh, then there's vampires uh, and goth types that that creates, in my mind at least, associations to medieval times and witch hunt. Uh, Maybe the devil, and because it's black, but we don't think about a priest in Denmark at least is wearing a black robe. Uh, but maybe it's because of the makeup, and maybe death as well because of the dark makeup. And so we might think that goth people, they are dangerous, so we feel respect, uh, and we know what types are crazy people. I haven't figured out yet nowadays. It has changed, I think, but it's those archetypes. It was easier to figure out, I think, early on what uh, archetypes had, you would associate with certain qualities, like a princess. Now I'm looking at an image I have of a princess, or a ballet uh, dancer. Uh, but then you think about Black Swan and ballet. That's a new archetype in relation to that. Or Kanye West and his music video. There's also ballet dancers. I think they're wearing black, and that makes me think of Black Swan. So I don't know if there's some associations to that in Kanye West's music video, and that's how people are judged. But maybe sometime it will get to Denmark as well, because it seems like some parts of the world, this globe, have understood that it's okay to uh, be different, but it's not to be like it, be a specific type of person. Uh, and it has to do with inclusion of different types, that looks don't matter that much, or that it has to do with other, it has to do with qualities. Uh, but Denmark has just gotten worse. I don't know why. Like, I can't figure out what archetype do you think I am. Is it the nose? Is there something wrong with it? Or what's wrong? Is there something wrong with how I speak, how I look? What's wrong with me? Or is it because it turns you on that I have to wonder about what's wrong with me?